Hello, my name is TDO Timothy, and I'm going to help you find your research gap. What is the gap? There are scholarly works which are refereed articles that have been published about your research topic. Each scholarly document ends with a section called Recommendations for Future Research or something similar. The gap is the area of research where more needs to be studied in your topic, in your focus, in your research area. More conclusions need to be drawn about that specific area of your research. Let's break it down a bit more. The gap is what is not known about your research topic. It's not entirely new. It can't be entirely new because your university is not going to allow you to research outside of where experts have already been reaching, not as a student, okay? It has to be an extension of published refereed work that includes original research that has been read by experts in the field and other publishers in the field who have verified that it is quality, correct research methodology and design on your topic or research area. The gap is your attempt at adding to the conversation about your chosen research. It is not a new conversation. You will find that there are very few new conversations in any research area, but it is you adding to the conversation. And your gap must be justified by its recommendation in 3 to 5 previously published scholarly works in the last 2 to 4 years. Your university may ask for more, but your gap has to be seen specifically mentioned in at least probably 3 to 5, very likely, published scholarly documents, not dissertations, which can only be used very sparingly in your dissertation, okay, not other dissertations, but actual professional publications in journal article collections, in conference publications, that kind of thing. It simply means that the experts that specialize in your research area have already researched your topic up to a certain point, and they are saying, we know this, we have seen this, we understand this, but we are still wondering about this, and future researchers, you should look into this vein of this research area or this research topic. Look in this direction. Look at this picture, okay? You see the chasm there. So there are rocks gathered on this side, there are rocks gathered on this side, but there's an open space. In the same way, the experts in your topic and your research area have gathered all this data and drawn all these conclusions about your topic. They've gathered all this data and drawn all these conclusions about your topic, but we wonder what happens in this area. So we know a lot about reading comprehension in the regular school year. We know a lot about reading comprehension in the summer, but what happens to reading comprehension when you have a COVID gap in the school year? Do you understand? Let's do another example. So we know a lot about taking care of a healthy heart under normal circumstances. We know a lot about taking care of a healthy heart after a stent. What happens to taking care of a healthy heart when you're not able to get access to health care as a result of quarantine? The change in situation has left a gap in the research that experts will specify is an area that needs further research, further data collection, further analysis, and further conclusions drawn. Let's move forward. Just as a quick review, I'm not going to assume you know this, that scholarly works are the result of formal research and data analysis. They're written by scholars or experts in your field, and they have been refereed, which simply means peers that are professional in your field. They are considered the best, the brightest, the experts in your field. They are the journal publishers that publish the best, the cleanest, the most sound documents in your field. They have legitimized these works. And some samples of those include academic journal articles, conference publications, literature reviews, or other systematic reviews of previous research, original empirical research that includes data collection and analysis, or theoretical articles that focus on the theory behind the research topic that you are covering. Again, theoretical articles that have been refereed, that have been read by scholars and experts in the field, and they agreed that this writing was legitimate, not just something random from the internet, right? And where you find these wonderful scholarly works are in online databases. The old-fashioned way is to go into the library and pull journals off the stacks, but because you need information that is so current, we're talking about published in the last 2 to 4 years, you really need to use and familiarize yourself with online databases, here are just 4: Academic Search Complete, EBSCO, Google Scholar, JSTOR. I love ERIC. There are some other ones that I really love, but you're going to go with the options that are free to you first, okay? Your university is going to give you access to a plethora of databases that they have already paid subscriptions for. That's a winning way to go. And public libraries also often have paid subscriptions to research databases with full-length peer-reviewed articles. Okay, now let's get down to business. I'm going to show you how to find your gap using Google Scholar. Okay, I'm going to close this. We're going to go to scholar.google.com. And we're going to go here. Let's say that we're going to do our research on MRI and recommendations for future research. You see what I did there? I just typed in exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to hit the search bar. Now, over here where it says custom range, I only want articles that have been published in the past 2 to 4 years. Scholarly articles that are going to give me some direction about what gaps have already been justified in the literature. Now we're in 2021 right now, so I'm going to put in 2018 to 2021. That's all I want. Now I have a list of scholarly articles that are going to give me recommendations for future research about MRI. Now I am not researching this, but that's okay because I know how to get the recommendations for future research. I'm going to click on the first scholarly article. I'm going to scroll down to where it says recommendations for future research. Here's discussion. Okay, see that? Recommendations for future work. Okay? fMRI has the potential to provide critical insights into the pathophysiology and treatment of psychiatric disorders. However, it has yet to be fully leveraged within the context of OUD. Oh, here is an area of research that needs to be further studied. Look at this. Only a small number have used fMRI to study treatment mechanisms relevant to OUD. Okay, this scholar is telling me that further research in this area is critically important to aid in the refinement of existing treatments. There's the gap on MRI. But I would need another 2 to 4 sources to prove that is a legitimate gap. Just for the sake of example, let's see if this source supports that. We're going down to recommendations for future research. It's normally in the discussion area or after the discussion area. So we're scrolling down, discussion. You passed it. It's in the discussion area somewhere. Okay. So this is a systematic review and etc., 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 etc. of interest was, etc. Let's see here. We're just looking for future recommendations for future, right? We can expect more longitudinal research in the future, given that many countries have established large longitudinal OA cohorts. However, most cohorts have clinical treatment foci. In the current literature, we found that generally the assessment of OA used valid and reliable methods, etc., 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 etc. They expect you to control for a range of covariates, etc., etc., etc. Additional efforts are needed to improve recall and work measurement, potentially through guided recall techniques. So you see here that the future research needs addressing in future research is a potentially healthy worker effect, specifically some workers who develop joint problems. The future research is specifically given to you. It is spelled out. It is a required part of scholarly research that the experts recommend a new gap for future researchers. It is there. You see how easy it is to find the gap. I'll do one more just so you can see it for yourself. I am not an MRI researcher. I am just a researcher. I know how to get to, in the discussion or in the conclusions area, what the future needs to do. And that's what your gap is. Your gap is the kind of research that needs to happen related to your topic in the future that has already been identified by the experts. Okay, let's see what we got here. Here's our discussion. Here's what they did in the present. Risk of bias, data synthesis, future direction. That's what they call it here. Okay? Given the argument for compelling TMS methods for future investigation in MS, it is worth noting putative applications of TMS and the clinical approach to MS once methodological limitations such as those from the cited studies have been overcome. That's a very specific type of research that the writers are recommending to be done on TMS methods in the future. It is specific, and your teacher is going to ask you for a direct citation from your articles that show, yes, the citation that shows that another scholar, an expert, a referee, a checked scholar has said that this is the gap. When your gap has been justified or confirmed in 3 to 5 published scholarly works in the last 2 to 4 years, you are locked, stock, and ready to go. If you have any other questions about the gap, feel free to contact me. I work with Timothy Educational Solutions, and I teach all grade levels about all kinds of wonderful things. I would love to help you if I can. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.